Australia and Vietnam have a relatively long trading relationship between the Australian cattle industry and the Vietnamese cattle industry. It was traditionally based on exporting cattle to Vietnam, but that is becoming increasingly uneconomic. So there's a need for a reimagining of the relationship, and that's more around industry to industry ties in cattle breeding, improving genetics in Vietnam, and maybe moving more towards exports of finished products like beef from Australia to Vietnam. So the aim of the program really, the first aim was to enhance the linkages between the sectors in Vietnam and Australia, and the approach that we took really was to build linkages between industry in both countries, but also between government in both countries, and then look at gaps where research could also support developing those linkages. The program had a number of official partners, so obviously Griffith University, and then in Vietnam the Institute of Policy and Strategy for Agriculture and Rural Development, and Focus Group Go, which is a consulting company from Vietnam. But in addition to those formal partners, we had a lot of great support from Meat and Livestock Australia, who became a partner in the project, as well as the Australian Embassy in Vietnam, and around 20 or so Vietnamese and Australian businesses who collaborated, and a number of Australian research institutes as well. So we built a big community of partners around that core. So we had a relatively short program. We started activities around August and September last year, and we concluded at the end of May. Within that time, we had 4 main activities. So the first real main activity was in November 2023, where we held a 2-day symposium in Hanoi in Vietnam. At that symposium, we had industry representatives from Australia and also researchers from Australia coming and sharing experience and ideas with their Vietnamese counterparts in the areas of breeding, feeding, management, trade, climate change, all hot topics where Australia and Vietnam can collaborate into the future. That symposium was recognised as being very important by the Australian government, who sent representatives from the embassy, including the ambassador, to give an opening speech, and also from Vietnam, who sent the Vice Minister of Agriculture to also give an opening speech. So that highlights the importance of the topic and of the symposium activity itself. The second main activity that we had was an ongoing activity all the way through from August right through to the end of the project, and that was collecting market information from Vietnam and also more broadly across Southeast Asia around beef and cattle and livestock, looking at market developments and the effect on trade and development, putting that onto our website, Asia Beef Network. So we have thousands and thousands of pieces of information there, interactive graphs, interactive maps, lots of research products there as well. We have our YouTube videos around the activities of the project, which have more than 100,000 views already. The third main activity was like a really exciting one for us, where we had a delegation of 22 industry, government and research people from Vietnam coming to Australia. They visited first to Beef 2024 in Rockhampton at the beginning of May. It was an exciting visit because their delegation was the largest international delegation out of all the delegations coming to Beef 2024. Our welcoming event was opened by Cameron Dick, Treasurer and Deputy Premier of Queensland, and also attended by senior officials from Trade and Investment Queensland and Queensland Department of Agriculture and Fisheries. Again, underscoring the importance of Vietnam-Australia relations. Then our delegation after Beef 2024 split into 2 groups. One group went around Southeast Queensland looking at more around beef production and processing, and another group went to the Northern Territory and looked at some very large cattle stations, including Vietnamese-owned cattle stations in the Northern Territory. And then the last activity, the 4th main activity, was in Hanoi at the end of May, right at the end of the project, where we held a policy dialogue where we brought industry, government from Vietnam and government from Australia together to discuss some of the key problems facing the industry in Vietnam and propose some solutions. The program officially concluded at the end of May, but that really only means that the funding from DFAT concluded at the end of May. What we're really happy to see is that we've built something that's been useful for industry in both countries. When we had the Australian industry and researchers up in Hanoi in November, there was a real buzz. And a lot of industry representatives from Vietnam were very excited to come there to join the symposium and also to build those linkages. We even had a group of industry representatives from Laos who came and wanted to the symposium and wanted to join together with Australia and Vietnam. On one hand, the project's completed, but on the other hand, it's really only the beginning of that industry to industry links.